Well, welcome everybody. Sunday, so this is a Sunday edition of SpiriTV. We've got 4 great shows lined up for you today. We're going to start off with Beyond the Body with Calico, followed by Divine Intervention with Ken, Modern Mystics with Andy, and From the Bottom Up with Jason. Finally, at the end of the session. So, without further ado, we're going to go to Beyond the Body with Calico. Welcome everybody.
Just a little runaway, 47 years and still I'm on the run. Afraid of love, I'm keeping God at bay. Spending days in a nightmare ain't much fun. I am just a little runaway. For my misery, always blaming someone else. I'm really into judgment and delay, but only hurting me.
Hello, everybody. Everybody. Oh, boy. It's been an amazing week of deep healing for me. And I can only wish the same for you. Whew. And I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start off with sharing a dream I had. And I know when I used to hear people say, I had a dream, let me share it with you, I'd go, oh, fuck. But it's a short dream, so you won't suffer long. It was a powerful dream. It was very short, and it was very symbolically to the point. And it was, I dreamt I was in a garden, and the garden was surrounded by a fence. And there was an open gate at one side. And I was tending flowers and vegetables and pulling weeds and being very specific in my function within this garden, fenced garden. And I'm going to cry. And it's not for the reason I'm thinking. At the gate was Paloma, my horse, the love of my life. And she was wanting to come into the garden. And I stood up and I body blocked her. I kept moving and using my body to block her from entering my garden. In the world of symbols, she was something I loved more than anything else. In the world of symbols, my body has been used to defend letting love in. So in my garden, I was preventing love from entering. That's the dream. And then I was guided in the book, and in part 2 of the workbook, and I didn't even know there was a part 1 in the workbook, the lessons. Part 2 of the lessons, Jesus has put in some, I'm calling them zingers. And part 2 of the workbook is where we move beyond words. This is where we move beyond the symbols of the world. And these zingers are really focused on being experiences. And there just so happens to be one of the zingers is entitled, What is the Body? And so with this dream of seeing myself as blocking love, that is what the body is for. That's what we use the body for. And I'm going to be talking about a whole lot here. Rethinking Sickness is a program that I did, many of us did in January, a 7-week online program with Zoom rooms. And it really was to discuss the body. And the title is a little bit, it's not quite what I would like it to say, because it really is rethinking the body. Where are we using our body to block love? And well, I'm just going to start by reading the text because I think a lot of it will guide me through the rest of this program. What is the body? This is from Jesus. The body is a fence. Could that be clearer? The body is a fence the Son of God imagines he has built to separate parts of his self from other parts. It is within this fence he thinks he lives, to die as it decays and crumbles. For within this fence he thinks that he is safe from love. Identifying with his safety, he regards himself at what his safety is. How else could he be certain he remains within the body, keeping love outside? The body is a dream. Like other dreams, it sometimes seems to picture happiness, but can quite suddenly revert to fear, where every dream is born. The body is a dream, and it can have some happiness, then it reverts to fear, where every dream is born. Every dream is born out of fear. For only love creates in truth, and truth can never fear. Made to be fearful, must the body serve the purpose given it. But we can change the purpose that the body will obey by changing what we think that it is for. I'm going to just another little parable that happened this week for me. There was a moment that I saw a situation occurring where I saw an undelivered communication that would have made my life so much easier. Well, again, everything is my projection. Everything is my projection, and none of it needs to be corrected because it's perfect. And I had a mighty companion, and this is going to go back into the greater joining in the text. If you haven't read it, I strongly encourage you to. Because the greater joining is joining with a mighty companion that will not collapse into your dream of fear. And so I had this idea, there was an undelivered communication, and I was feeling unfairly treated because everything falls on my thought system that isn't joy, falls into the category, I am being unfairly treated. And so I sat with this and a mighty companion, Suzanne, who I happen to live with right now, and said, should I make a correction to this? She was saying no, because it has nothing to do with anybody else but you. And I thought, and it landed like a ton of bricks. This is all for me. There is no one outside myself doing anything. If I'm feeling unfairly treated, guess who's unfairly treating me? Me. I'm standing at the gate, at the fence, with the love of my life on the other side of the gate, blocking, body blocking. And I'm suffering as a result. Because I'm the only one that can suffer in this dream. So I just had to share that. Now I'll continue reading. It gets better. The body is the means by which God's Son returns to sanity. Though it was made to fence him into hell without escape, and this is the body was made to fence him into hell without escape. Yet has the goal of heaven been exchanged for the pursuit of hell? When I start seeing all my thoughts as my thoughts, And I posted something on Facebook this week that was, this has been a theme going on all week. What I'm so very grateful for is that I see the value of seeing my thoughts, not the content of them. So what I'm grateful for is that I can see my thoughts. But it's now time for me to really see the content of those thoughts is completely meaningless unless I give it meaning. Going back to the first 3 lessons, I give everything the meaning that it has for me. So it was really, this whole week was dealing in this, they're my thoughts. I'm the one that's suffering. I'm keeping love at bay by making these thoughts mean something. And it's not for me to ever, and this is really just for me, there's nothing I should ever be correcting, ever. I'm listening while I'm saying this. There's nothing I should be correcting because it's all perfect and it's all for me and it's all guiding me home. And it's guiding me to the truth of who I am, which is love. And I think I'm finally at some point where I'm tired of resisting love. I'm tired of fighting anything. You know, there was also, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because it was a rather huge clearing on my part. I know I've alluded to it before in several programs. I had a foreclosure on my dream home in New Mexico. And I would refer to it as an illegal foreclosure. Well, as soon as I see anything is illegal, guess what? I'm judging something massively. So I heard guidance to watch this program. Again, it was a movie, The Big Short. I'm not recommending it necessarily. It was just for me. And it came out in 2007 or 8, right after I was foreclosed upon. And I remember watching it and I was furious, because the man who set up this whole for mortgage thing in the United States, I made him as the enemy. And by the time I had finished watching this program again, and this goes back to MWGE, and I know David has said this numerous times, if you get hooked by a movie, do your work, do your healing work, and then go back and watch it. Does it hook you in the same way? And watching this movie the second time, I really got something was shifted massively. And at the end of the program, which I didn't hear the first time I watched the movie, this gentleman, Louis Adrianos, who set up this whole thing, said that he did have some regrets and that a year later, he really kind of pulled out of a lot of communication with many people and I think went into really silence. And then I went on Wikipedia just to find out where he is today. And that's when I really got hit with the download from Jesus of this man was my savior. Okay, this is the man that set up the whole thing that's set into motion, the mortgages being shut down and me seeing an illegal foreclosure. And he's getting humanitarian housing awards out the wazoo. And I sat with this going, okay, this man is getting, he's a humanitarian. And really what I saw was, oh, I happened to be collateral damage in a situation where he was trying to bring something to the light. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with it because it doesn't matter. I saw him differently. That's what's that's really the point of this. I saw him as a savior. In fact, there's very few people that I would love to spend time with. I mean, he's one of them. I get the gift he was to me. And I would willingly go through all of that again to serve. And I really am holding it in such a different place with so much gratitude. And it's like, that's this experience. And there's part 2 in the workbook. And it starts around lesson 221 or something like that, with these zingers that Jesus gives us when we're supposed to be moving beyond words. This is the experience of forgiveness. To see whoever I feel like I'm being unfairly treated by is actually the gift I'm giving myself. And I know the 30-day program, I just want to plug the 30-day program. It's a 30-day experience of unwinding your mind. And this is the unwind. You see yourself unfairly treated. You have an expression. You express that which you see in your heart, that you feel. And then you take it to Holy Spirit to see it differently. And that really is the process. And it is a process. And it's not to get stuck in the making someone wrong or the expressions. And this is where 30-day program, there's a lot of people getting stuck in the expression. And then you take it to Spiri, or you do an instrument of peace on it and see where your part projected this lesson, especially for you, as a guide back to heaven, as a guide back to the love and truth of who you are. And that's the whole unwinding process. And I love the symbol of Unwind Your Mind. David's book has a spiral, a big spiral on it. And I see the center of the spiral as we're born. And then we start setting up how we're unfairly treated. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have made a mess of our lives at some point. And it's really taking wherever we really make the decision to heal, and signing up for the 30-day program, there's a lot of people making this decision to stop the process and start the unwind. And I say, it's a free program, just keep doing the 30-day every time it's offered. It'll take you back through this unwind. It'll unwind every single thought you've ever made someone wrong with, situation that pisses you off, be it politics or wars or starvation or husbands, children. I mean, the list is endless. And then you start going back and kind of unwinding all these ideas that you had where you've ever been unfairly treated. And then you can take it back and own it as your projection and see the gift in that. And I know we're talking advanced thinking here, but this is the process to get there. Start. If you're not going to start, you'll never see the finish line, which is who you are, which is just nothing but love, joy, happy. And you can tell when you need this if you're not joyous and happy. There's something for you to work on. There's a lesson you're giving yourself that's blocking you from seeing the love. And the body was made to fear. So rethinking sickness, kind of backing up a little bit with rethinking sickness, see it as rethinking the body. Where are you blocking love from coming in? Where are you using your body to block love? And it's a symbol of blocking. It's not like, oh, this body. And if you if you see this body here, this body, you may say it's obese, it's fat. I have my whole life, even when I was 125 pounds. Oh, I could lose a few pounds. I beat myself up from day one for not having the body that I thought I needed in order to be a success in life, for me to be happy in life. And I tell you, I'm happier now than I ever have been, in a form that many people, oh, she's suffering from obesity, or whatever the thought is. I mean, I've had them all. So, I have a long list, a lifetime's worth of making this body wrong. Where in fact, I'm so grateful to this form for waking up every day in whatever form I find myself, because it's perfect. It's my gift to myself that I still have lips and I have arms to hug. And that's what this week was about. Huge healing. Huge healing. And letting go some big areas where I felt unfairly treated. Whether it was in just a simple conversation, or was feeling like I was a part of a foreclosure, or that I had cancer, or I need to lose some weight, or I have the wrong husband, I have the wrong girlfriend, I have the wrong children. Wherever those thoughts come in, and this is the presence. You can only catch those thoughts in this moment and grab them when you got them, because that's your gift. That's the gate. That's the gate out of the symbol called my body. And that's what rethinking sickness is all about. So if you have a block, no matter what it is, be it a foreclosure, a bad marriage, or needing more money, this is the program for you, because we're going to take it differently. It's an expression. It's working with that expression with Holy Spirit and seeing it differently. Really seeing the gift that we're giving ourselves, because any negative thought is just the gift I give myself. And it's profoundly beautiful. I better give the finish line here before I run out of time. You will identify with what you think will make you safe. Whatever it may be, you will believe that it is one with you. And this is a biggie. Where am I safe? You know, when I got cancer, which was another huge gift that I gave myself, my body became unsafe. And I tell you, there's nothing worse than when your body feels unsafe. And at some point, whether you're dealing with fear of getting older, fear of dying, fear of whatever, the body turns on you. And that's a good thing. That's where you can really challenge your self-concept. So I have seen this for a while, that cancer was one of my greatest gifts that I gave myself. It's like, okay, are you ready to start the unwind now? You know, whatever it shows up as, take that on. It's your gift to yourself. And there may be a big lesson, and it may not, and it doesn't look fun initially. I know Jesus said this can happen in an instant. We can turn this around. But the reality is, and I think it is for many people, there's a lot of expressions that come up. A lot of rage, a lot of tears, a lot of beating tables, a lot of whatever. And it's just humble yourself enough to let that out to another human being. And the power of having a community for myself is I can express within this community, and they're mighty companions. There is a greater joining happening within Living in Miracles, because Living Miracles is nothing more than individuals that have taken on a commitment to themselves to see everything differently. And it's a big commitment. So when I join with a mighty companion in this group, and we have a prayer and support line, and you don't have a mighty companion, call the prayer and support line, because we're here to support you as mighty companions. We won't be collapsing into your fear. We'll be joining you in finding the gate and seeing where you're blocking the love that really just wants to come in and flood you with joy. Just flood you. So your safety lies in truth and not in lies. The truth is your love, and everything you're projecting is just the lesson to return you to the truth of who you are. The lies are thinking that you can be unfairly treated by anything. By anything. Fear does not exist. Fear does not exist. So if I am having a fearful thought, Guess where the error lies? It's not out there. Again, it's in my head. This is a big unwind. For those of you doing the 30 days, keep doing the 30 days. Because every time you do the 30 days, it's going to take you into a deeper and deeper understanding of this for yourself. Because this is where it is self-study. It's my mind. If anyone could have gotten in here, cleaned it up, and released me from the fence that I had built, I would have paid billions of dollars. Unfortunately, that's where the self-study comes in. Only I'm having these thoughts, and only I can be willing to unwind them. And that's where the Rethinking Sickness, at least you have 7 weeks with a Zoom room every week that we're going to be holding the space for this unwind in whatever way you see your body is blocking you from the light. Whatever fears coming up that you don't feel safe with, not enough money, the government's out to get me, I can't do gluten, whatever it is, that's ours to unwind. Identify with love and you are safe. Identify with love, you are home. Identify with love and you find yourself, capital S. Not as a tiny little self-concept, but as the truth of who you are and God knows you to be. Love. So with that being said, this organization is a group of mighty companions that have come together and are coming up with tools and new programs. And David is doing retreats every month, and well, every week too, Saturday mornings. Join us in the chat room. There's so many tools to help you in this unwind. And that's what this group of individuals called Living Miracles is all about. To provide the tools that we're finding for ourselves in this giant unwind. Because that's all it is unwinding that which we thought we needed to protect ourselves from. And it's not huge. Once you get started, it is a skill. Because Jesus says somewhere in the text, we've just become way too tolerant of mind wandering. Well, what we're doing here is reining in the mind wandering. And we have no one that's going to support any of our thoughts that are saying we're being unfairly treated. So with that being said, well, I have 1:37. I just want to take a look at all your smiling faces. Hi, everybody. Bless you. Bless us. Yeah. And don't isolate. I think that's something came up in the morning program yesterday. Isolation is death itself. It's the joining. It's the greater joining. This is not just going out to the local pub and, raising a few with some friends. This is really about holding the truth above all else, even when it hurts and it feels very uncomfortable. Express it, take it to Spiri, Instrument for Peace, see the unwind, see why you're projecting that, what you're protecting at your fence gate. Where are you blocking the love from coming in? And then we return home together, because none of us are going to get there until all of us are there. And I'm just grateful that I'm in this form, in this moment, with all of you, and with Jesus. Yeah. We are the gift. We just forgot. Till next week, folks. I love you.
What a way to start the Sunday. Wow. Thank you, Calico. That was very powerful, very powerful. As you were talking, it reminds me of something that Davis says many, many times. And I know when I first heard it, I think I was I was saying offended, but I don't think that's the right word. Resistant is probably better. Said that, you are responsible for your own state of mind. And that's a huge unwind. Because at the time I first heard it, I'm still projecting out onto the world. Oh, no, this is causing. And it's so beautiful over time to remember that I am responsible for my own state of mind. And thank you for that. It's a beautiful, beautiful session. Okay, well, we have lots of things happening. I'm just going to go through a few of them, a few of the upcoming events, just so that we're all on the same page here. As you know, our friends Eric and Tamara are on the road. I actually don't know where they are today, but they're all over the US and Canada, and they're entertaining a beautiful set of gatherings called Inner Listening, a guided tour of the heart. So if you're interested in hearing from them or getting an update, certainly there's information on the events page, but you can also email Eric at Eric Archibald at gmail.com, and he can give you some up-to-the-minute information about that tour. Jenny and Greg are on the road with This Moment Is Your Miracle, which is great. I think they just finished yesterday in St. Augustine, Florida, and they're on their way up to Sherburne Falls in Massachusetts. But it looks like they've got 6 days to get there. So if you're between St. Augustine, Florida, and Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts, and you'd like them to drop by, you can have a little gathering, just send an email to Greg at livingmiracles.org, and you can get something organized for them. They're following up. They're going to be in Massachusetts till the end of April, and then they're jumping to New York City for a couple of days in May. And it looks like they're winding up their tour in Chicago on May the 12th. So there's a number of days between the 5th of May when they're in Binghamton, New York, and then they're traveling to Chicago, Illinois. So if you're between New York and Chicago, and again, if you're feeling a tickle to have them join you, send an email to Greg. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you and see what can be set up. And what's after that? Oh, yeah, I'm going in Japan right now is the Trust and Guidance Retreat with Kirsten and Francis, and that's through April 21st, actually. So that's kind of fun. Okay, that's the events for now. There's some more coming up, but I'll share them after the next show. Thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you back here in about 12 minutes for Divine Intervention. See you soon.
Do you find yourself dodging body thoughts which leave you feeling frustrated and fearful? Do you feel out of control in your body? Our way of dealing with health and healing the body stems from antiquated beliefs and fears since time began. Rethinking Sickness explores new paradigms and experiments with new ways of thinking about the body and health. In the field of health, we juggle different ideas, hoping one will work. These ideas sometimes work and sometimes do not, leaving us in a fog about the truth of healing and what health truly is. In this 7-week online program, we will break through old, outdated patterns and ineffectual ideas in how to heal our bodies. We will experiment with a different way of seeing. We will try on new ideas in mind, exploring a whole new way of looking at things. Come and experience a quantum classroom in the truth of who we are. As you proceed through this program, judgments which initially appeared to come at you shall disappear, and instead you will witness your joy return. Using spiritual principles as discussed in A Course in Miracles, we now can move into a whole new glorious truth of who we are. Join us in this quantum classroom.
Good tidings, good tidings, good tidings. This moment is your miracle. 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 Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, or not next year, but this moment is your miracle. Yes, this moment is your miracle. This moment is your miracle. Miracle, miracle, miracle. This moment is your miracle.
Unwind your mind.
Hi, I want to talk about Unwind Your Mind 30-day experience today. It is a free 30-day program for anyone who studies A Course in Miracles or anyone who is interested in awakening or healing in the mind. Our minds are so used to look at the world and ourselves from an egoic perspective. In that, we lose touch with our true identity and with the inner guidance that can lead us back to the awareness of being one with God. And this program is like a 30-day detox for the mind. On Monday of each week, you will receive the theme of the week. And those themes are very common themes and problems that people are dealing with in their everyday lives, such as money, addictions, relationships, etc. For the rest of the week, you will be receiving daily messages that are teachings or movie clips or reminders. And the purpose of them is to remind the mind to remember its true identity and to help the mind open up to a complete new way of looking at everything and a deeper understanding of how to use whatever that comes up in the mind for the purpose of awakening. So this is a very practical, gentle, and powerful approach, and it really helps the mind to get in touch with the deeper truth and deeper inner guidance. I hope you enjoy it.
Unwind your mind. Unwind your mind. Everyone has the same call.
Welcome back, everybody. Up next, it's Divine Intervention with Ken. Take it away, Ken.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting week, to say the least. A lot of fear, I think. Didn't really see it as fear in the beginning, I must admit. But a lot of thoughts in my mind. And it's interesting what I came to was, it's often here we get given areas and we do projects and stuff. And I thought, why does it always bring up so much for me? A new area. And it's like, I think it like reminds me of like school or something, like there's a project to be done. And I hated school. I was useless at school. I didn't understand what was being asked of me. That was the problem. It seemed quite simple, but something in my mind was not clicking in. So I was just like, I don't understand these seeming simple things to do. So you just get labeled as being stupid. He's just stupid. You just don't get it. And so that was the kind of label that went all the way through. So it was just like, okay, rebel, do what I wanted to do. Not too much pressure. So there's a kind of flip side to all of that. And it was interesting because I trained as a psychotherapist. So I thought school meant all the stupid people had it the worst and all the intelligent people had it the easiest. And in my time as a psychotherapist, I got all these people that were really great at school telling me, you don't know how hard it was for me. I had all this pressure put on me. I couldn't go out in the evenings. I had to study. And if it weren't my parents putting pressure on me, it was then when I went to school. And I was just like, wow, you were having it pretty tough. So it was like these ideas that we have about ourselves, these victim stories. I was the only one. I was at the bottom of the school. I was terrible. That everybody has their own perception of their own curriculum of what was going on. So I was like, wow, I didn't really have it too bad, really. I never had homework to do because they knew we wouldn't do it. So there was no point in asking for that. And every evening I was out doing what I wanted, playing on my bike and stuff. So to be honest, school probably wasn't actually that bad for me because I just didn't get it. But yeah, of course, those thoughts of being stupid or whatever carried along they still carry along. So we often get these projects, as I said, and it really, really just takes me out of my comfort zone of things that I shied away from, that it was either seemingly in the form I was told, or he's never going to amount to anything. The best he can hope for is changing tires on cars. Okay. So when a project comes in and it's really out of my comfort zone, I can kind of see it now. No wonder it's like the tremor of the past. I'm just going to be shamed. I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to feel embarrassed. So it feels like, and I've got this kind of filter that comes up that just says, you can't do it. You're just not good enough. You're not clever enough to do it. You're not going to understand it. And then this fog comes over me. And then it's like I'm back in those times, and it's like I'm not understanding what's asked of me. And then I don't even know what to ask, so I can understand. So it's hard to ask for support, and it's hard to know what I need support with because my mind becomes so foggy. And I was reminded of the film Revolver, one of the scenes in that where you don't want to go, that's where you'll find him. So I'm laughing now. I don't know what I'm laughing at, to be honest. Haven't been funny at all. So it's like I'm being put into this position of actually having to face these ideas, these fears that I've run away from. So all my life I've kind of, and I think I've put myself into this box and said, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Kind of simple. If you ask me to do certain things, no, that's not for me. I'm no good at it. If it's something that I can do, then yeah, I'll have a go. And it's like here we get pushed out of this comfort zone. So I was even thinking about doing these shows. The last thing I'd ever want is to be on a camera talking. That would have been a massive fear for me. And now it's been extremely healing. In actual fact, like I felt like this week, I don't even know whether I can do the show. My head is all over the shop. I don't know what's going on. I'm forgetting things. I don't know how I could even plan a show, even think about that. This fog was just completely there. And I thought from what had happened during the week, they were going to say, yeah, I think you should scrap doing the show this week. And then I get asked, oh, so what are you doing for the show then? I thought, well, I thought you were going to tell me not to do the show. And somehow this morning, when I woke up early, I woke up very early, 2 o'clock, and just this fear was just there. Oh God, what am I going to do? I got the show, I'm not feeling good. And rather than kind of thinking about it, I was just letting this fear wash over me. And went to sleep, woke back up about 3:40. Fear's still there. Okay, what can I do? I'm not going to analyze it. I'm just gonna be with it. What will be will be. There were some thoughts of what are you going to talk about? It's been a terrible week. But somehow coming here, I don't know what it is. It's like something sort of calms me down. I feel pretty good. So it's kind of interesting that I thought that this was a very fearful thing in my mind, that here I am sitting here talking to a camera. So I never would have thought that that would have been for my own best interests. So if I hadn't have pulled myself out of that comfort zone, I wouldn't be here. So it feels like, oh, fuck. Yeah, so it feels like there's this hurdle. I've got to face. Yeah, just these stories have just crippled me. yeah, I don't know a life without thinking I'm stupid and that I can't do things. So I've been given this this distribution area, and it feels like I have no clue. Dealing with publishers, sending emails. I'm not a very good writer, so, and really explaining what I want to say in written form is not my forte, to say the least. Brings up a lot of anxiety. And so now there's a lot of outside people that I talk with and I have to try and communicate with. And I guess this is what I've shied away from, either in anger or just in a victim. I just can't do it. And here I am again, and it just feels like so much shame. That it should be so basic. It's like in my mind, you should be able to get it. So the voice has been pretty harsh this week. Very convincing. A friend of mine said it's like you build a case. It's like a judge, and you build a case and you make it completely real. It's like, yeah, I'm no good. I know I'm no good. But yeah, here we are again. Having to face it. But I don't know how to face it. That's the problem. Don't know what to do. And this is part of the journey. This is part of it, facing everything. So I'm facing it here now. I'm facing it here. So this is part of it. I mean, this would have been the worst thing in the world for me to be announcing this on camera, on YouTube, announcing to the world how I feel. That's stupid. But I just don't want to be a prisoner to it anymore. So that's why I'm saying it. I guess that was the fear in the morning. It's like, you're going to go on here and tell the whole world, if they want to see my videos, how you really feel. So that's not as bad as I thought. What does it matter? And the great thing about the spiritual path is that it's not of me. And this isn't true. This fear isn't true. And that's what I've been getting from the book, really. It's like, fear is actually meaningless. It's like, don't feel that way today. And that's some comfort in that. And the past few days of the lessons, if you're following along, you know, with them day to day, they've been about basically, no, your right is happiness and it's joy, and it's not fear. And it's like, really, this world is just set up completely in fear. And going back to the school story, no matter where you are on the seeming chain of intellect fitting into the system, whether you're at the top, you're feeling fear of failure, fear of letting your parents down, fear of letting the school down. If you're at the bottom, you know you're a failure and you're not gonna exceed in the system, so you succumb to that, and so you have options and just to rebel and whatever, but you feel like a failure and you're in fear because you look like an idiot. And then you think you're in the middle, you're not quite good enough to be in the top, and there's a possibility if you don't do enough you could jump down into the bottom. So there's the fear you could be in the bottom, and there's this striving to try to be in the top. So it's like you're set up in this great school system to build fear in your mind. That was a really good ego thing, wasn't it? School, that was great. That was a great idea for us all. So it's like these ideas are just with us. So it's like no one thought about going to school to be happy. No one said to me, oh, school is about being happy, joyful and peaceful. So, oh, is it? I didn't realize that. I thought it was to be marked, to be told you got this wrong, to try and be praised if you can be good. And that was about it. But now our new curriculum is, thank God, is to be peaceful, to be happy, to be joyful. And that's not even of this world. The peace and joy is not going to come from the world, but it is what you are. So I think that would be a pretty good school curriculum. So maybe if you're in education, you might want to take this on a little bit and stop putting the pressure on, because it doesn't work. So I guess that's what we're saying to the ego. Your games don't work. We're coming to the realization it's just not acceptable in the mind to think I'm an idiot. It's not acceptable to have that pressure to try and be the best in form. It's going nowhere. The joy is within. This journey is an inward journey. So I think that would be a good lesson to learn. So I'm kind of grateful actually for some of it, because I couldn't take it in. I didn't understand it. In some respects, I'm not so wound into the world because I don't understand a lot of things. Well, okay, is that how it is? So there was some good that came of it. But this morning, while I was going through this, I stumbled across the fear to look within. So I thought we could look at that together. So this is the fear to look within, and it's in chapter 21. There is no inconsistency in what the Holy Spirit teaches. This is the reasoning of the sane. You have perceived the ego's madness and not been made afraid because you did not choose to share in it. At times, it still deceives you. Yet in your saner moments, its ranting strikes no terror in your heart. For you have realized that all the gifts it would withdraw from you in a rage at your presumptuous wish to look within, you do not want. A few remaining trinkets still seem to shine and catch your eye, yet you would not sell hell to have them. So I guess kind of school is one of those places. Don't know why I'm talking about school. It's like the ego's like, haha, got ya, set you up in the fear trap. Next one we've got is work, even worse, doing things you don't want to do, working crap hours, crappy jobs. That'll get you going. that's what's next on the agenda. Or even go and do more school, college, university. You might even fail at that. Yeah, I'll get you. I'll bring you down. Then you have fear of money. That'll hurt. And so that's what its wishes are along this little journey that we're seemingly going along. And as the Course is teaching, it's insane to think like that. But it's sane to think with the spirit of who you are, with the joy and the love and the peace. I was just thinking back to before school, was like, I was really happy then. I remember being very joyful. I loved running around. I had a lot of energy, so I was hard to stop. No cares, no worries. There wasn't, you had to read. I remember the first time they asked me to read, I'm not interested in sitting down. I'm playing, thank you very much. And that's what I continue to do. And really, that's what our life is. It is a play. There was this joy, and then slowly the ego's program came in, winding us into life. And now we're winding back out of that. And just remembering that there is a sane curriculum. Thank God. There's some truth that we're not this. And I don't have to side with those beliefs, that there are some true beliefs. So I thought I'd just carry on. So when we side with the Holy Spirit, and now the ego is afraid, yet what it hears in terror, the other part hears as the sweet music, the song it longed to hear, since first the ego came into your mind. The ego's weakness is its strength, the song of freedom, which sings the praise of another world, brings to it hope of peace. For it remembers heaven, and now it sees that heaven has come to earth at last, from which the ego's rule has kept it out so long. Heaven has come because it found a home in your relationship on earth. And earth can hold no longer what has been given heaven as its own. Look gently on your brother and remember the ego's weakness is revealed in both your light. What it would keep apart has met and joined and looks upon the ego unafraid. Little child, innocent of sin, follow in gladness the way to certainty. Be not held back by fear's insane insistence that sureness lies in doubt. This has no meaning. What matters it to you how loudly it is proclaimed. The senseless is not made meaningful by repetition and by clamour. The quiet way is open. Follow it happily and question not what must be so. So yeah, no matter how loud the ego speaks to you, roars at you, has its ideas about who you are, we don't have to listen. You can pass it by and remember that you are that love, that peace and that joy. And even when we're not feeling that inside, that's our goal up front in our mind, then that's what's being promised. And it's like this fear to look within is like, oh God, this darkness, this hell of who I believe I am is so treacherous that I've got to walk through it. How can I possibly get through the other side of this? And that's, of course, the ego's trick. It wants you to believe that, oh, look, oh, you don't want to go in there. You're going to see how terrible you are. You're going to uncover all these beliefs. Oh, yeah, you've done a lot of bad things. You're not a good person. This is going to be really, really difficult. Why don't you stay with me? Okay, you suffer, but yet you don't have to look at all those terrible things. You can deny them. And you can allow me to beat you up, which you're used to. It's become normal to you. But yet that's the trick. So of course, when we start to look within, we see all this darkness and it's like, oh God, do I really want to do this? Well, we've gone too far now. And the actual trick is that's not what is at the end of the tunnel. It's actually the light. It's what's behind all of this. So that's what's kept me going this week. It's like, okay, I'm not seeing the light. I'm not in the light at the moment. Let's be honest. But what's promised is the light is behind all of this, and I can actually pass this by and remember in what all of the lessons this week really have been saying. They have been a bit of my savior every hour for 5 minutes. Love and peace abide in me. That's to help to remember. The other part that was helping me remember was I went to the section of the Teacher of God. It was how does a teacher of God spend his day? And it said in there, well, when you're a teacher of God, you don't need any structure, but while you're learning, structure is good until that can become an idol too. But at the moment, it's good to have that structure, and that's what the lessons give, a new lesson every day to keep your mind on track. And in a way, that's what these shows are all about. It's like we wave off during the week and we might go into troubled seas, but yeah, okay, we're steering the ship back around. We're heading north. We're heading to the light together. That's what we join in. So yeah, I wandered off a bit this week. My navigation system wasn't so hot. And yet here we are again together, coming back in alignment. And the seas may get choppy, but we're in the boat together and we're moving along together. And no matter what, if you've ever been sailing, you know that no matter what happens, it can't be windy all the time and you will come into calmer waters. So the calm is always there. And in fact, the storm is only on the top of the surface, that if you go down deep enough, there's actually no storm. And really that's the truth. That's what the Holy Spirit's wanting to take us, saying, go a little deeper into the mind, dive a little deeper into the sea, and you will always reach the calmer waters. And that's the same with the mind. We just have to keep diving down and facing whatever's there, and you will find calmer waters. It's as simple as that. If we stay on the surface, we'll be in the choppiness of the ego. So yeah, I feel more at peace now. I don't feel so anxious. So yeah, thank you one and all for sharing this time with me. I feel so grateful that I have this opportunity to sit here and be with you all. So even if you've been in choppy waters, just remember you're not on your own and they're not real, and we're going through that to the calmer waters. So yeah, sending you all lots of love. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, here's to calmer waters. Thank you so much for sharing, Ken. That was just beautiful. From the depths of your heart to the depths of mine, I certainly felt that. And I love the analogy. Isn't it interesting? So there's a storm blowing up there, and you know, we batten down the hatches and we hold on for dear life because we're listening to the ego. But Jesus is saying, jump in, go deeper. It's calm, and we're afraid. And then we try it, and we go, hey, it is calmer down here. So there's the invitation. Just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, because the answer is within. So it's just beautiful. Just beautiful. Okay, so get a quick update from Jimmy Doherty, who is sponsoring, is that the word? Is what's the word I'm looking for? Hosting Jenny and Greg in New York. And he mentioned that they're actually booked with him on May the 1st and the 3rd. So just a quick update on that tour. And just following up on a few more events. Hey, listen, you know, every Saturday, other than the online retreats, I host a miracle movie session, and you're most welcome to join us. We watched an incredible movie yesterday, and you know, I'll tell you a little miracle that happened to me. I always wait for Spirit to guide which movies to play, and nothing came in all week. So Saturday morning, I'm going, I guess I better start looking to see what movie I should play. And what came in for me as I was looking through MWGE was My Name is Khan. So as I go to my hard drive to drag the movie to my desktop to play, out of the corner of my eye, I see this folder. It says Mrs. Carey's Concert. I had never heard of this movie, ever. So I click on it. And I go, okay. So I play it. And I can't, I watched it from about 7 o'clock in the morning till 8:30 or so. And I went, wow, what an incredible movie. So we showed it yesterday, and it had just some beautiful sharings. It's called Mrs. Carey's, C-A-R-E-Y'(S) Concert. And it's a documentary about a lady who has a school in Australia. It's an all-girls school, 1,200 kids. And once a year, she takes them all to the Sydney Opera House and puts on a concert. What an amazing documentary. And it speaks about collaboration, mighty companions, expression, really cool. So that was a joy and a real miracle. Like, you know, Spirit is beautiful. And as I say, just out of the corner of my eye, I could have missed it, but he made sure I didn't. So thank you, Holy Spirit. It was a great movie, and I highly recommend it. What have we got going on after we talked about? At the end of April, Kirsten and Francis are finishing off the Japanese tour, and they're going to be, I think it's in, yes, they're going to be in Hokkaido. So that's April 27th and 28th. And then Kirsten will be in New Zealand on May the 4th, and she's going to be doing a guidance and inner listening gathering in New Zealand. So that's something to look forward to. And of course, and it's actually great timing, because the next Awakening from the Dream live online retreat happens on Friday, May the 3rd. And if you sign up before the end of tomorrow, there's an early bird discount available. And that's called Being of True Service, a direct path to awakening. Fantastic, intriguing. So you can join us then May 3rd through the 5th. And if you sign up before the end of day tomorrow, you can take advantage of the early bird discount. In the middle of May, Francis is going to be in Solihull in England, which happens to be, I think it's 45 minutes from where I was born, which is kind of cool. It's with the Miracle Network Conference. It's called A New Generation Speaks. And Francis will be one of the guest speakers there. So that's something to look forward to. May 17th through the 19th in the United Kingdom. And you heard this from Calico during her show. I can't express how beautiful a series this is. It's called Rethinking Sickness. It's a facilitated online doorway course. It starts on June the 3rd and runs through July the 22nd. And all of this information, by the way, is available on livingmiracles.org/events page. So lots of things coming up for you. Okay, in about 10 minutes, we'll get on to our next show. So I'll see you then. Bye for now.
The interesting thing about service is that it's very helpful, it's a very helpful step at kind of getting you out of that egocentric me, myself, and my and I, and getting you into that sense of opening to share and extend with others. It's not fatiguing at all to follow the Spirit, but if you have service ideas, like you're doing service for a future end, or you're doing service for somebody else, or you're doing service because you think the world is in need, the world's not in need, it's the sleeping mind that's in great need. The world's just a reflection of belief, so there's no real need in the world. We are the same, and we're feeling the sameness of the Spirit. The Spirit unifies us. It's more like coming to a divine sense that your brothers and sisters are literally who you are, and seeing them in fullness and wholeness and completion. And who would we want to be a part of a system where you could be happy and others could be suffering, where you could be enlightened and others could be unenlightened? You see that all service is capital S, self, is Christ service. It's service to yourself. It's extending the love and light of Christ, and by extending it, it's the most natural experience you could ever have, because you were created to extend love. When you're extending love, you feel the joy of that original creation.
The book is called This Moment Is Your Miracle, and as I said, you're going to start hearing much more about it.
I'm not a big reader, but I can't put this damn book down.
It's all deep inquiry. It's about opening up.
An experience of our true self, an experience of peace.
Greg had read a portion of the book, and I felt so peaceful.
Exercises, practices that takes us in, all the way into the deepest practice of forgiveness.
I want to say how important that part is, because that's our way to connect and to surrender into that safety, that peace that the Holy Spirit is guaranteeing us.
When I first heard about David Hoffmeister using movies for awakening, and I had been on a spiritual path for quite some time, I didn't feel the connection in my mind. I couldn't understand how that could possibly work.
I guess for me, the movie watching is very important in that it actually addresses this core issue of perception.
It will transfer everywhere to all your life, and hidden dreams to all your dreams.
And what I've found with it is it's the most comforting way and simplest way to look at what you still believe in the mind.
When we watch a movie, it's exactly the same as when we watch the movie of this world, you know, like all the meanings that we give to it, and we react because of the meaning that comes from the deep belief that we held in mind.
Because we have such a tendency to push things that we don't want to feel away. And this gives us the opportunity to actually, in a very safe, supportive way, to allow it to come up, so it can be handed over to the Spirit, handed over to the light in your mind, whatever you want to call it, and let it be released.
It's a powerful tool. It's like Spirit is going to give you a kick, like in Inception, that's going to go all the way through all the layers of the dream.
It's all about let the spirit guide it to our awareness. What would you have me do, and what would you have me see? What would you have me feel?
When you're feeling vulnerable or you're feeling afraid about something or insecure, you can sit down and you can watch this movie and you can literally see what you're still believing in.
And it's gonna reach all the layers down, all the way to the basement, so to speak.
It's filled with tools and it's filled with entertainment. You know, it's a light way to go about things as darkness is passing through.
It's a gift of really, like, of having that experience, that it doesn't have to be, it's not a process.
It really is an amazing way, actually, to see what's in the mind instead of having to play it out in life.
It's like instant awakening, and it's a calling to experience that it's already done.
It's a fast track to be able to, and a safe way, really. I feel like for most people it's a safe way to get in there and start to unhinge what you believe that is fearful, because really awakening is just, enlightenment is about releasing the mind from fear. So this is a beautiful way to do it.
It's almost like a secret that the ego doesn't want you to know, that it is an instant. And it's like, it is an instant, but you can only experience it through desire.
So I feel like it's a real gift for anybody who authentically wants to look at where they're attached to things of the world in their mind and begin to let it release.
That's what we want, is please show us a way that is, very light and very enlightening, and at the same time that we can really resonate, and the movies is an amazing path.
When you embark on this path and you have such a desire in your heart for the truth, when you're really pulled towards it, it's like the answers will be given in very different ways than perhaps you would anticipate, and it looks very different than perhaps we've been conditioned to believe what the path to enlightenment or the path to awakening looks like. And so I just invite anybody to literally open up their mind and check this out, because it's really very, very helpful.
The newsletter is also a great inroad, because the newsletter is the highlight. It's actually a selection for you. Some really powerful classic movies is selected, and will give you a little write-ups for you to see whether this is something that really resonates with you at this point of time.
Well, technical difficulties in Mexico, so you'll have to bear with us. It's been one of those days. Anyway, it's they're working to get a good strong signal. They've got 2 or 3 different suppliers, and none of them are giving them a strong signal at the moment. So they're scrambling behind the scenes to make that happen, and that's okay. So just bear with us for a couple of minutes, and we'll try and get back to them. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so we've got things fixed up in Mexico. So up next, it's the Rocket Man, Andy Petch, with Modern mystics.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Beyond this world, there is a world I want.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mystics. Hey, and yeah, this week I felt like I did want to speak on some of the topics of, like what have I been going through this past week or two. And I was just listening to Ken's show, and yeah, it was really beautiful, and it feels very similar to like the same kind of feelings. It's been like moving through a lot of unworthiness and lack, and I feel like idols tie into all that. So I thought, yeah, those are some of the themes for today's show. And yeah, like even, it shows up in a lot of ways, this unworthiness. And for me, it shows up like with the show, because it's like the ego wants to take it its own way. And, it's like David talked about how it's like low self-esteem and high self-esteem are basically, they're the same thing. They both come from the ego, and they're both really unworthiness. So I could come on the show and be all like whatever, and that's unworthy. I could come on the show, some kind of like or spiritual or whatever, and then that would be unworthiness too. So it's like neither of those is the answer. So it's like there's this middle way with the Holy Spirit, and that's being in touch with the Spirit, and that's really the magnitude. It has nothing to do with low self-esteem or high self-esteem, and that's what washes away this unworthiness. So yeah. And yeah, I was just listening to David speak more about unworthiness, and it can even show up in the form of like physical symptoms, like pain in the body, or sickness, or accidents, even like a car accident. There's no accidents really. So it's all really unworthiness. I even thought like, it's like the technical difficulties we're having before the show. I was like, that's funny. That's probably the unworthiness in the mind. And yeah, it's like by following the Spirit's purpose and following the miracles and experiencing the miracles, then it's like, then we can start to wash away this unworthiness. And yeah, I feel like even, it shows up in many ways. It's like we don't know really how we're going to move through this unworthiness. And one example for me was even the intro of my show. It was like I was having prompts to make an intro for the show, and I delayed for so long, and I didn't even know why I was really delaying. And then once I made the intro, it just felt so inspiring and lifted me up. Like it was a total miracle for me. And I could see like, wow, this unworthiness was trying to hold me back from experiencing the miracle that I would feel like through following the prompt to make this intro. And yeah, I just thought, I do have a video that I would like to share with you guys, and it's David. He's talking about prayer and desire. And yeah, so I may or may not pause it. Maybe we'll just watch it through. We'll see, and then we'll see how it relates to today's topic.
Guide the prayers of my heart.
Yeah, prayer is a very interesting topic, because you might say a synonym or a word that means the same thing as prayer is desire. So whenever you have a desire for anything, that is the prayer of your heart. And what we're really trying to do, and this is more in line with where Armel was taking you and talking, is that if you think of like the core of your heart is like the desire, or like the altar, like temples have altars, whether it's Jewish or Christian or Buddhist, or that ultimately what you want to do is you want to clean the altar we want to clear the altar of every desire for idols, and then leave the altar empty, because that's kind of a way of saying, just you, God, nothing else but you. You know, kind of like in the Bible, you know, it's like love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and might, and hold no graven images before God. And it's in all different traditions and spiritualities about really having peace or love and God at the core, and then letting go of everything else. Now, when the mind falls asleep and believes in the ego, it can't help but pray for idols, because coming to earth means that there's a desire in the mind for idols. Nobody comes here with no desires. They wouldn't come here. They need to leave nirvana or leave heaven if you just are one and you know who you are. But the mind falling asleep and dreaming of a world of separation. So you're...
Yeah, so speaking more on what David was speaking to, it's like, yeah, you know, I've spoken about this a lot, and yeah, it's like when I was younger, you know, 10 years old or something, I watched that movie Batman Begins, and then I was speaking about that scene where he's like a young boy with his parents on the train, and they're just going by the city, and then his father points out that that's our tower in the middle, and you know, they were basically billionaires and had a lot of influence and power and whatever, and when I was watching that, I was like, wow, that's the magnitude I want or whatever. And now I can see that really, like, that's actually like unworthiness. And you know, I never saw that before. I actually thought like that is magnitude, but it's like what David's saying. It's like really that's the idol that, you know, we just feel so unworthy, like this unworthiness in the mind. It's like, okay, well, I'll never get back to God. You know, it's like I'll never really get back to where I really want to be. So let me try to scramble and find like the next best thing. And then it's like we come up with all these idols out of this unworthiness to kind of replace God because of this like terrible feeling, you know, of like wrongness and lack. And it's like, okay, I feel this lack and this unworthiness. So let me try to find something to fill that up, you know, fill that void. And even like throughout high school and early childhood, you know, I didn't even know this until one of my friends pointed it out, but I had this like hunchback, and it's still a little bit there, but it's like this hunchback, and when I would walk, even like I would walk and then I would stare at the ground while I was walking, and I didn't know that was unusual. Like I thought, you know, that's normal. I look at the ground when I walk. What's the big deal about that? And then one of my best friends, he was like, why do you look at the ground when you walk? And that was like a moment where I was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, I was like so unconscious. Daily life was so unconscious, so much unworthiness that I didn't even know it was unworthiness. But when he said that, it like something like sparked. I was like, wow, you're right. Like, why do I look at the ground when I walk? You know, and it's like, ego can say, yeah, it's because of the physical, whatever. It's like, no, it's not. It's really just like this unworthiness in the mind. And so now, you know, and actually, so that was like, seems to be through the low self-esteem days of Andy. And then it seems like I found the course at some point. And then after I found the course, it went to the high self-esteem days of Andy, where the unworthiness showed up more like, you know, I was going to the gym, get really, really muscular, you know, go after that business, try to make millions of dollars and all that kind of thing. And the funny part is, okay, maybe I wasn't staring at the ground anymore. Like now I was like conscious of it, pull my shoulders back, you know, go to the gym, get really ripped or whatever. And now, but it was really, nothing really changed. You know, it was like what I was saying about low self-esteem, high self-esteem is the same thing, because now it was like, after I would go to the gym, I had so much pain. And even though my form was perfect, everything seemed perfect. But the thing is, my neck and my upper back would just be in a lot of pain. it's like, okay, so what? I'm not looking at the floor anymore, but it's like the pain is still there. So it just goes to show like that wasn't the answer either. And actually, even that was unworthiness. And yeah, I got to see that, you know, I really didn't know that was unworthiness until like probably like very recently or something. And I even remember I was at the first mystery school and we were watching this movie, I can't remember the name, Before I Fall. And yeah, it's like I didn't know what unworthiness was, but I could just feel this like fog in my mind, this strange feeling. And when we were watching that movie, there was a scene at a party where like whatever, this guy was getting all the girls or whatever. And then after that, I remember, oh, that desire is still there. And then I was talking to Jason about it and I was like, yeah, I see that desire, but you know, I let it go and whatever. And I was just telling him my experience and he was like, that's actually unworthiness. And when he said that, I completely like didn't hear him basically. It's like I wasn't ready to hear what unworthiness was at that point. But now when I look back, I can see like, wow, it's like all these desires and idols and things that I always wanted all came from this belief in unworthiness. Like it all came from this deep-seated unworthiness, because it's like, okay, well, I can't have what I really want, like joy, peace, like supreme happiness, consistent happiness. So maybe, yeah, I'll look for it in idols and these form desires instead. And I feel like everyone is really that way. You know, it's like no one really desires any of these things in form. It's like we all really want consistent happiness and supreme happiness, but there's like this unworthiness in the mind. And I guess it's like the Holy Spirit's job to convince us through miracles that we are worthy. And it's like we don't have to, you know, be content with littleness, with these idols and things that we don't even really want, but we're just compromising. So yeah, maybe we'll just continue the video.
There's going to be desires there's going to be prayers, and you might think of the return back to that pristine state as kind of like a ladder of prayer. And so the most important thing about prayer is don't try to skip over any steps. So if you heard you're whole and complete and perfect, you have no needs, all you have to do is accept your completion, your perfection, and your mind goes, I don't get it. That's because there are steps that you will go through to get it, you know, to experience it. And the most important thing is looking at really the purpose or the motivation. It's God knows the prayer of the heart before a word is spoken. And while the ego is still in the unconscious mind, you cannot help but pray for things, for specific, for people. You know, it's quite common, you know, pray for my mother. I pray for my mother's physical and psychological health, or I pray that I have a safe trip on my travels here, or so on and so forth. But you do notice as you go higher up the ladder that whenever you're praying for specifics, you're still praying for the past to be repeated in some way that you think is good or better. And the prayer is still getting lifted up towards that, you know, let me accept myself as God created me, as pure love. That's the highest prayer, is let me know myself as I truly am, as you created me. There can be no higher prayer than that. But it will just be very much like our one-on-one the other day. It said, oh, you'll just be taken and carried, and your prayers will go higher and higher and higher and higher, because that's the natural movement of all those prayers, to go up there. And then we could say that the final prayer is more just, again, a prayer of acceptance. Let me accept myself exactly as I am, exactly as you created me. But you can't skip over all the others. You know, it just short circuits the whole thing, you know, to just say the words without having it be truly where your heart's desire is, is kind of just trying to leapfrog. And so you have to, be practical. You're a natural prayer, so let's keep up the ladder you go. I'll see you there. And I'm with you every step of the way as well, too. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know for me, it's really about like recognizing the unworthiness and like allowing myself to get in touch with it and really noticing when it's there. It's like, oh, okay, I see that. So, okay, I see the unworthiness. I don't know how to move through it, but it is this prayer of like, okay, Holy Spirit, like, what would you have me do? What would you have me say? Yeah, and I feel like, it is a constant prayer, and setting the goal is one thing that's been so helpful for me. And I know even recently, it's like, I was talking about the whole neck pain and everything, and yeah, recently it came back, and it's been less and less often that it's been coming, but it's like it came back recently, and it was like hurting a lot. And I was like, what's going on? It's like I didn't understand what was happening. And then I tried everything. It's like I had 2 different friends give me massages, like several massages, and then took Tylenol and whatever, and all I could feel is I felt so like weak, terrible. And so what happened was, I don't know, something clicked in my mind, because I had this bottle of Tylenol in my bedroom that I took one of them, and it seemed to help a little, but it still wasn't going anywhere. So the next morning when I walked by it, I just felt like sick. I was like, what is this weakness? Like Tylenol, like what am I doing? I don't know. It was like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was like, yeah, I don't know. It's like something just doesn't feel right. Like there's some kind of like weakness in my mind. And then basically I was just in contemplation after that. And there was a couple of shows ago where I showed a video of David's where he was talking about service. And then he was talking near the end, and it really like touched me, where he said, he would go through all these miracles, feel the joy, and then the ego would want to come back with the backlash. But then David would say, no. He would just tell the ego, no, like, I like that joy. I like that joy. No. And he would just continue on. And I don't know, that just felt so inspiring to me. And we had this recent online retreat where David was speaking at his Saturday morning session, just amazing session. It's on Spreaker. And he was basically saying that, the mind is the decision maker, not the body. So it was like, it seemed like my body was hurting, and I wasn't in touch with that at all. But after that little click of like being like sick with myself, I was like, what is this? Then all of a sudden I remember what he said. It's like the mind's a decision maker, not the body. And then right after that, I remembered from that clip I showed a couple of shows ago where he, no, I like that joy, and then the best part about when he said that was when his eyes like twinkled up, like when he said that, you could really like see the joy in his eyes. And all of a sudden that just started flashing in my mind. And then I just in my mind, I just started saying like the same thing, like no, I like that joy, like no, like I was just saying like no to the ego and to the pain. And then yeah, it's like something just shifted in my mind. It's like, it was like, this need not be. It's like, all you need to do is set the goal, like this need not be. And even in that chapter, this need not be, it starts off very early on, paragraph 7. It says, the habit of engaging with God and his creations easily made if you actively refuse to let your mind slip away. The problem is not one of concentration. It is the belief that no one, including yourself, is worth consistent effort. Side with me consistently against this deception, and do not permit this shabby belief to pull you back. The disheartened are useless to themselves and to me. Only the ego can be disheartened. And then it just says, have you really considered how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourself and how many of them you have refused? Yeah, and it just says there's no limit to the power of a son of God, but he can limit the expression of his power as much as he chooses. And that's really just following the prompts. Following the prompts leads you to opportunities to gladden yourself. Like, and it's like not judging what the prompts seem to look like either, because you know it can be so simple, it can be so seemingly small, you know. And I just had this experience with the last online retreat where, you know, I'm here in the studio now, I'm part of the studio team, and I'm over the mixer and the cameras during most of the shows and online retreat. And with Michael, when he was speaking, I set up his microphone, and there was like a lot of unworthiness in my mind that day. And I set up his microphone, and during the online retreat, I could see it was like slanting, it was like slipping, and I could see the thoughts in my mind. And it was literally, the thoughts in my mind was like, no, you can just, it's okay, just deal with it. Like, it won't fall, but you can just deal with this thought, you know, like throughout the rest of the session. It was like this unworthiness. It's like, I'm worthy of having a clear mind. Like, I don't have to deal with it like that, you know. It's like, you know, it's like side with me consistently against this deception. So I saw that thought, and then I was like, no, like I'm worthy of a clear mind. I don't have to think about this slanting mic a whole session, you know. It's like, and then I looked over at Peter and I was like, can I go fix his mic? And he's like, yes. Turn the camera off real quick. I go over there, I fix the microphone. And that was just a symbol of deciding again and choosing for worthiness rather than unworthiness. And it's not about the form. It was really in the mind. It's like, I'm worthy of not dealing with that thought, you know, for that whole session. So after I went up, I fixed the mic, and then I sat down and I just sank into this like beautiful experience. It was like this mystical experience. I just felt so clear, and I was like, wow, like just from following a prompt, you know, it seems like such a small thing going up there and fixing Michael's microphone, but it was not a small thing. You know, it's like, have you really considered how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourself and how many of them you have refused? You know, it's like, it's not a small thing. It's like this unworthiness is deep, and we need as many experiences like that, as many miracles that we can get to really wash it all away and like find out who we are. And yeah, you know, it's like, I feel like I've talked about this before, but this is like, feels like the year of stepping into magnitude, and everything that's not that is going to come up. So it's like the year of releasing unworthiness. So a lot of my shows will probably be about that. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy the next show with Jason, and I'll see you next Sunday at the same time, 11:30 a.m. CDT, 10:30 a.m. MDT. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Beautiful. Okay, so I do have a couple more events left, and we're getting into the summer and the fall, and we've got two huge events lined up for you. First, from April 2nd to April the 6th is the Awaken to Love, Come As You Are retreat, and that's going to be held at the monastery in Utah. So that's definitely something worthy of putting on your calendar, and if you can make it there in person, fabulous. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful event. And when we play some of our little promotional videos, we have a brand new one that just got made, and I got a chance to have a look at it. It looks really cool. So we're really building up to a great gathering, a great retreat in the summer, in Duchesne, Utah at the monastery, August 2nd to the 6th. Awakening to Love, Come As You Are. And following that up in October in Holland, it's Into the Kingdom. It's a 7-day retreat at a beautiful, beautiful, huge castle in Holland. David and a number of the elders are going to be there. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time to go deep in a residential retreat. So something to definitely mark on your calendars. And if you're feeling a trip to Holland, hey, October 7th through the 13th is available for you. So that's Into the Kingdom. And again, that's at the beginning of October, the 7th to the 13th. Okay, that's it for events. And see you back here in about 13 minutes with Jason and From the Bottom Up. See you soon.
Well, we're very excited to talk about Awakening to Love, our summer event, August 2nd?
August 2 to 6,
2 to 6.
2019.
Coming up. And we're coming to you today because we want to tell you all about it and what's behind it.
Awakening to Love is firmly set on the basis of non-compromise.
Yeah, it's like let your yay be yay, your nay be nay. Imagine doing that every day and every moment, where if you really felt something in your heart was a big yes, you actually said yes. And if you felt something was a no, you actually could say no. It may be that you think, well, it just seems like you have to compromise, but really we're saying, no, you really don't. You don't have to compromise at all. You can really come from your heart in every moment, and it's actually a blessing for the whole universe. It's not, no one loses when you're happy. No one suffers when you're feeling joyful and free. And the backdrop is beautiful. It's in the Strawberry River Canyon at the Living Miracles Monastery, and yeah, there's some new construction coming along too, that we'll be able to enjoy a new part of the monastery. Because the monastery is on 49 acres, and every once in a while we have this inspiration for something new, and like a new location to be highlighted, and so that feels like that's another thing that's part of it too. And if you've ever been out in that canyon, you know how it's very, very quiet. There doesn't seem to be planes going overhead. It's not kind of any flight path. It's just there. It's amazing, and it's in some senses it's kind of secluded. But if you're going to give yourself over to an experience, it's a good place for that.
Then give yourself fully over to it and trust that you'll be fully carried in that. And all you have to know is just you, like for yourself to be prepared, is to know that you want it and don't compromise. Don't go like, oh, I want it, but no, if you want it, claim it. You want it, and then show up as you are.
As we all will.
Yeah, because that's what we're gonna do too.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
We're gonna show up and see what happens, but it feels there's a joy. It's a joy feeling in my heart for coming there together like this, and we're excited.
I'm so afraid of the unknown. I'm so afraid to be alone, and I try to hear your guiding voice, but still I don't know where to go. But I see your head next to mine, and I'm holding on so tight. Please promise me you'll never so clean, but still I'm paralyzed by fear, and I lack in trust, I lack in faith. My ego made me go astray, and I see your hand next to mine, and I'm holding on so tight. Please promise me
Welcome back, everybody. Up next, From the Bottom Up with Jason. Take it away, Jason.
Thanks. Thanks. It's funny seeing my thing. From all I see is Europe's eyes watching it. I can't even see my own intro. So it's funny. Oh, this is great. Well, welcome to another episode of From the Bottom Up. I've been really inspired this last week watching these shows like Could It Be a Miracle, it's called, and they're from 1997. And there's another one on this other series. And it's called It Could Be a Miracle. And kind of like Kindness Diaries is in awareness right now, where you just see this guy going on the road and sharing all that's happening, and it's really live. One of the ones that I saw was this, I've told this like twice here in this this house, but this trucker was driving along and trying to make his long haul. And he wanted to get extra money, so he was going quick. But over the CB radio, this message came, "Please help me, I'm stuck. I feel like something's wrong with my heart." So the guy had to give up his bonus. He pulled off, found the directions where the guy was on the side of the road, and he was having a heart attack. So he called the ambulance. The ambulance came, saved him. But then the police came up to him and said, "You're pulling our leg, man, because the guy has no CB radio in his car. There's no way he called for you for help." And the guy was unconscious. So it was like somehow the angels or something spoke through the radio, or his own mind pulled it forth. But that's not the real surprise. Then 20 years go by, and the guy, the trucker, was driving along, and not driving along, he'd retired for 20 years, and he was doing a hike in the middle of nowhere, and he got a heart attack. And his buddies had to walk him a mile to this native reservation where they only had a nurse, and she wasn't an expert on cardio stuff. But lo and behold, on the door knocks this guy. The guy who's having a heart attack goes unconscious. The guy who knocks on the door is a cardiologist, helps him recover. And then the next morning when the patient awakens, the cardiologist was the guy that guy had saved 20 years ago on the road. He was a cardiologist. So it was like they helped each other with these heart attacks. And it just like blows my mind to see that. I just see it as God or the Spirit working to show that things are not what they seem, and that there's like this much greater plan happening. And so I thought, I need to do this. I either need to go on the road or I need to interview the community for these kinds of miracles. So I shared this with David the other day, and we've just been in prayer. And so I called Francis and Kirsten, and they're not able to now, but they're going to do an interview with me this week, maybe for another show. I called Ricky, and I've recorded an 8-minute segment that I'm going to play for you guys here in a second. And then I thought it was going to be a short show, but I've been surprised because all of Europe is going to join us and share some miracles after after Ricky. And since the only people I know over there are in that room, that's all of Europe to me. But before we start that, I thought I could just read a short prayer. And this is another miracle because I was like looking through all this ladder of prayer and the forgiveness section, and I wanted to read so much of it. And I just kept hearing, read a short section. And then Andy and Ken basically go on to read and talk about those sections and even play a video of David. So I just get to read the section that they didn't cover. Prayer is the greatest gift with which God blessed his Son at his creation. It was then what it is to become. The single voice creator and creation share. The song the Son sings to the Father, who returns the thanks it offers him unto the Son. Endless the harmony, and endless too the joyous concord of the love they give forever to each other, and in this creation is extended. God gives thanks to his extension in his Son. His Son gives thanks for his creation, in the song of his creating in his Father's name. The love they share is what all prayer will be throughout eternity, when time is done. For such it was before time seemed to be. So some of you have been seeing my last episodes, and they're about letting go of control. And yeah, I just really felt like this week it needed to focus more on the means for moving through that control, because we can understand the dynamics and express and get in touch, but it's really in the true service, which is the theme of the next online retreat. True service, fully looking at the mind and letting the body be used in a reflection of that. That is the way. And I was blessed because I called Ricky yesterday just spontaneously to see if she would join me. And she was in the middle of recording a fresh, brand new song. And so I think I was the first or second person to hear it. Maybe now everybody over there has, but I think we can play that now, a song from Ricky, fresh, and a 3-minute talk from her and I, and then we'll come back to me.
Empty fears, decades of tears, and wondering why I would buy the lies. I set my sights on a guided life, and I will feed my hunger to be one with my Creator. I don't want to pay the price and live a life through someone else's eyes. I just want to follow you to come to truth and be spoken through. And I want to live an uncensored life. I cannot make one more compromise. I have done nothing. Look for the next thing. Now I'm gonna sing at the top of my lungs, 'cause that's what I do when I wanna see God. No more longing, 'cause love is my calling. Yeah, yeah. Freedom reigns as I lay down my pain, and I'm figuring it's high time to align the mind my insistence to know love is my existence. I don't want to give to this, to barter with, or try to get what doesn't fit. I don't want to try to be, I want to be another me. Yeah, I'm complete. And I want to live an authentic life. I won't deny what moves me inside. I have done nothing but try to be something else. And I'm gonna yell at the top of the world and go where I know I feel closer to God. I have done nothing but try to be something I'm not. Yeah, yeah. Just listen, there's only one voice. And I'm not doing nothing, I'm sourced. And the presence of love is the how. Nothing I need to do now. I want to live an uncensored life and see what I feel and never hide inside my own longing. Was my homecoming, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, Ricky. Thank you. Oh, it's like my own private concert.
Well, you're the only one who started but Micah and Jan, and they heard it unfinished. I sent it to them last night when it was all over the place. And I was just about to record it when you called.
So where did it come from again? What was the... You told me, but it was really quick.
Right. Well, I guess it came from just a series, being on the road. Oh, I think this song has come from about a year of healing, but I feel like, I think about a week and a half ago, I felt like my whole past just dropped. Like it was behind me. So it started on the road in Florida. And yeah, it was so intense on the road with Micah. And I thought, wow, I have just made a mistake. And we both did. Had a couple of counseling calls with Kirsten, actually, and just for help. And she was very helpful, but she was really more just saying, relax and let Micah be Micah and let Ricky be Ricky. And I was like, how is this going to work? So the retreat in Canada, 30 people, and Sarah had a mystical experience, and my session with her changed my life. And then we went back to back to Portugal, didn't adjust to the time zone at all, and I had the retreat that night, and I was so excited that I just dived right in 3 sessions a day and didn't even care that I didn't sleep. And by the last day of the retreat, I totally crashed, but I made it to my last session. And then when I got to Micah's in Holland, I crashed again and just got sick. But I called David, or David called me, and we we decided that they needed help in Spain, and I really felt it. And the minute I made the decision to go, I got better, and I had another huge healing. And Micah and I were able to find our sweet spot. And I felt like my whole past had just, in that moment, just fell away, and I just wanted to come here and be in service. And literally, it's been so joyful. And I told David, I was going to write songs, and Jan was going to record them in Portugal before I went back to the U.S. And he goes, well, bring your guitar, you'll have your own casita. And so I'm just usually here. I can't fit in the car anyway, and they have deliveries all day, so I'm just here holding down the fort, putting things together when I can. I broke something today trying to put it together, but it's been great. Whatever. It's just been, I just felt it in my heart. What happened was David was telling me what it was like, and Emily was too, and my heart went out. I want to come and help Emily. She didn't have time to water the plants, and I was like, I can do that. Let me just come and do whatever you can't do, Emily. And that's what I felt in my heart. And there's so much more I'm able to do. So it just feels great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Ricky. And let's go live now to Frank, Ricky, David, Lisa, and Emily. I'm so glad you guys get to join me. And I heard you watched Mary Magdalene today, and you had an experience with the lambs. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Hi from Spain.
Yeah, we are beaming from Spain.
Surprise. Yeah, it's interesting because we've been in such a swirl, and all of a sudden, boom, here we are. Being able to share the miracles, just what's been happening, because every day has just been so full and alive.
It's a lot of mirroring. Like, we were watching Mary Magdalene, and there were all these lambs on there, and Frank was mentioning Lamb of God. It's Palm Sunday, and then I think I was upstairs, and I heard Lisa going, oh, the lambs, there's lambs outside. They're here in the driveway. They're
like
here.
A big herd right outside the door. I'm like, what are you kidding me?
And I think we had left the gate open for all these deliveries, and because we don't have animals. Although I said, Frank was saying we should have animals. He wanted some animals down there. And actually, when I took a walk a little while ago, they were grazing, and the one place where we needed the lawn mowed was our orchard, and the grass was growing high there, and it's like 20 euros per hour and taking days. And Emily was saying she pushed off the gardener from even doing it. Now they're all down there.
It looks totally cleaned
growing
out.
and fertilizing the whole. They're doing the work. So it's like all of our thoughts are coming together. It's really cool.
Good use of funds too.
Yeah. And Mary Magdalene, we were all just, the Kleenex box was out. I saw the tissues flying over there on the couch, because it's very profound, reminding us, that the kingdom of heaven is within, and that we're not looking to try to see changes in the world, but we do feel the swirl. I think Ricky came down from Holland, and then Frank just recently got here, and now it's almost time for you to go back, but it's been like a swirl. Yeah, like a Tuesday.
Yeah. It was, I'm exhausted. We just furnished the whole space for 4 days.
Yeah, I've never seen so many things come in.
Yeah.
It's so fast, and I mean, we were out late last night. I think we were out in the evening, driving around. What was it?
Actually, last night was the first night we got home early. It was like 9.
Yeah.
But we've had midnight days, and but it was dark when we got home.
Yeah. So it's been good. It just feels like so much love, and it feels like it's like in service, like that true service. And we know there's other people coming that will be coming here, and it's, for most of us, I mean, Emily's going to be here watching the people come and go, but for us, we're all here, and then we'll be gone, and the next wave will come in this summer. So it's really beautiful, and really it's an answer to Emily's call for some help. You wanted to help.
Yeah, this is like the best team ever. We really needed help here. So it's like every week somebody else has come, and I think I had no idea how big this project was going to be, but we're literally like every moment. Even yesterday we were going out to, I can't even remember yesterday at this point, we were going out to buy something and yeah, we were going to buy a shed because we have nowhere to store anything, and David's out taking the laundry down from the line just as we're getting in the cars, and David's like, we can't waste a minute. I'm not going to let this minute go by.
Frank's walking up, I'm pulling laundry down.
So we're all out taking down the laundry, and it's literally like that. Like every minute is so precise because every day there's so much coming in. It's nearly like, of all the priorities, what are the priorities for today? And we're just being shown step by step. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so much thought too, because at the beginning, it was like we knew we were going to be buying stuff, hauling stuff, moving stuff, and we have basically a Volkswagen SUV that seats maybe 5 people max, and it has a little space in the back. And then we're like, that's not going to be enough, and let's go see Kina. So we go down to Kina, we go into her office, and she's sitting there, and parked outside of her office is this big orange, that's the color I wear a lot, big orange Ford Ranger. I mean, not as big as
double cab
Frank's,
or whatever
out in California, but double cab, and it's a big thing with a lid thing on the back. And we walk in there, and she's so happy. And so I'm like, could we borrow a vehicle? We've got so much to do. She said, sure, go ahead, take it. And she's so happy to give it to us. And then we said, well, we need it for a couple days.
We still got it.
We still got it.
Back a week ago.
Yeah. And so we've been hauling stuff.
I hopped into this big rig, and it's a diesel, and it's like,
Yeah.
here we go. See, I'm driving it.
Lisa's driving a big diesel now.
And she pulled out all these pictures of other, like real, like semis, if we wanted that.
Right. She was willing to help us out. We're like, oh no, please.
Because she's a construction business, so she'd even these huge rigs, and I'm like, no, just give us the truck.
Yeah.
So it's been, really, everything's been like, it's been full. Every day we come back and like this massive load, and then unloading and sorting out, and it's just been really fun, actually. Really, really fun.
All having the same purpose together. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be so much we needed. It was, it's just nonstop. Tomorrow we go again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it feels like it's not for us. It feels like we're preparing. Like David said, we're only going to be here for 3 months. So we're preparing. It's like a tag team. Like the next team will do the next things that are happening here. But like even with Ricky, that Casita's a studio, and, just these new ideas and things that are, it's like it's just evolving in front of us. But we just have this part of setting everything up, making sure everything's ready to go.
And Frank speaks a number of languages, including Spanish. So that's pulled us out of a lot of jams like you wouldn't believe. And then Kina has stepped in when Frank and Lisa have had to go, and Emily over to IKEA. Then Kina's like, oh, my horse is giving birth in 2 hours, in 1 hour. But she still took the time, even when she had a little pony being born, she took the time to go and translate for us at a car dealership, which the guy didn't speak hardly any English. So we wouldn't have been able to communicate just with our hands. We wouldn't have worked. And they were going back and forth like that Bill Murray movie, Lost in Translation. They go for like 2 minutes, this and this and this. And then she gives me like one line, in English. And I'm like, really? That was just, I'd have the Bill Murray look like strange, but it's good. It all works out. Everything we seem to need is landed, and we're just thrilled. And then Palm Sunday, I don't know, there's something about it. We're just feeling the presence of love and Jesus today. And I was reminding everybody that Palm Sunday was the time when he came back, to Jerusalem, and they had a donkey for him to ride on, and they were all excited. The crowd was cheering. These were like supporters and followers. Hosanna, Hosanna, glory to God in the highest. They were recognizing the Christ.
Emily was singing it to me this afternoon.
Oh.
Well, I was singing Hallelujah.
Oh.
Hosanna, she says hallelujah. They both start with an H.
There's a song. Well, you told me there was a song.
Right. Well, in the Lamb of God, I kept thinking of Handel's Messiah today. I don't know why it was so strongly in my mind, but the Lamb of God and all of the lyrics in that are so beautiful. And then, it just ends at the Hallelujah chorus.
Yeah, hearing your voice echo through the house.
Right,
Really
it's been
lovely.
a singing day.
Yeah, it's lots of, it is deep.
And Lisa, you were playing that track.
Yeah, this
but
morning.
You didn't know it was a.
No, you told me, you translated. It was a Gregorian chant this morning that I was in my room just with all my candles, just taking my God time. And Frank comes in and he's like, oh my word. And it just started out all about lambs and started out a day.
And then they came to the door.
Right. They were out there. Ah. I'm like, oh my God. You have a powerful mind, Frank. That's what David keeps telling me.
I think it's a compliment.
Like, holy moly.
What did you say, Frank? You hear it's what?
What?
Because we were saying to Frank that he has a powerful mind, and he goes, I think that's a compliment. He said, he's we should have animals here, and then next thing there's a load of lambs at the door.
A whole herd.
Yeah. Sweet. We're like St. Francis. We're with all the creatures, the many creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, and the story you were telling, how we got here, even to all these past stories about Mallorca, and things went wrong, but now they're in our advantage.
Yeah, we were talking, how they say out of the soil and emerges the fruit, and it's been kind of interesting to me because in Mexico, the first time I went, I would always go down to Puerto Vallarta to just sit by the ocean and meditate and pray almost all the time. And then I went down to Guadalajara to this purple high-rise hotel, and Suzanne and Francis and I did this retreat, and the man who was the organizer was supposed to set up two retreats, and he went, completely forgot about the second one. Well, that messed the finances up, so he said, well, let's go up to Ajijic. We went to Ajijic, stayed with a minister, and then they sat down to split the losses because it lost so much money, that particular one. And then out of all that grew the whole Mexican community. And the same thing happened here in Mallorca, where a couple people were supposed to be handling the finances, handling the venue. The finances got all locked up in a PayPal account down in Australia, and the venue, the man kept raising the prices beyond our affordability, and then the whole thing crashed. And then I talked to Jenny, and Jenny and I kind of pulled it out and started the whole thing over. And it was a beautiful 6 weeks in which we met the family over here. And maybe Frank can tell the story, because some of you may have heard it, but the miracle was that this family that pulled us out and saved the day with their villa, it was like 2010, 9 years ago. And then Lisa and Frank were there, and Frank was having a discussion with the matriarch of the whole family.
Yeah, and we didn't even want to come to this house because it was complicated. It wasn't exactly,
she wasn't making an appointment.
She wasn't,
And we
said, okay, well.
Wasn't there an offer on it already?
And there wasn't, because there was an offer. There was a
so we weren't even really interested. We didn't have no other houses to see that day. What happened was we didn't have any other houses to see. We had a big list the next day, 7 houses.
And she made it clear she doesn't want to waste her time. So my ego got in there a little bit.
I said, come on, let's just go. We were never that part of the island before. Let's just have a day and go check out this place.
And I wasn't expecting her at all. And here she's with a truck and horses. So we started talking about horses. And, immediately she said, well, I want because I told her what I do with the horses, and then, we said we're a spiritual community. We want you, and she said, don't worry about this other German offer, they won't get it. So, and then she took us to her mother's.
She said, I wanted you to meet my family first.
Yeah, so the mother gave us lunch and stuff, and it was.
We were in the joy. We were in this bursting joy there, and jumping around.
And then and then you left the table, and the mother asked me in Spanish, so what do we do? And I explained to her, and then you came back to the table with Kina, and she says, Kina, what he says reminds me of David Hoffmeister.
Thanks,
I've been out of this. It's a big, not huge, but it's big, the chances of that. And then but in the meantime, we had talked to you because we showed you the thing, but she couldn't see you because the glare.
Yeah.
So then we called you back, and I said, David, do you recognize this place? Wow, this is where I gave my retreat before.
Yeah.
So,
they were at the very place where I gave the retreat out of this whole huge.
Where Mama's house was.
Yeah.
It's really a goosebump story.
Yeah. And actually that, we were all around southern Portugal. What's it was called Algarve. We were down there, and we were around that whole area looking for a center over here, and then one property fell through, then another one fell through very obviously, and then we were all just sitting there, what are we feeling? And everybody felt Mallorca. We felt like we need to go to Mallorca, and I thought, here comes Mallorca again. I've been here so many times, and then all this unfolded. So it feels like it's that scripted thing, like we're in the joy, we're all into joy and the synergy and the miracle, and then every day things are showing up, and we're laughing, and we're just sharing so much, and even the people that are showing up. It's been a lot of miracles, Ricky, because you said the guy delivering the TV, he didn't speak any English, and you were making sure he got it into Spanish so he could install it.
Yeah.
And then try to get it back, and it always works out.
Yeah, well, I had to call Frank. I called you guys, but I was using Google Translate with the phone, and he's speaking into it and all that. And then literally he was getting to leave, and I said, no, back to English. And he was like, oh, he was so frustrated. And so I called you guys, and Emily goes, would it help if Frank got on the phone and spoke English? I'm like, oh my God, yes. So, yeah. So we got our TV set up today, and we watched
Mary Magdalene. And it was funny, Lisa and I were talking a while back, and she's like, this is really a big property, and at that point we didn't have cell phones. That came in, another miracle. But we were like, at one time the Papa was showing up with this new guy, and I'm calling Emily on Skype and WhatsApp. She's not answering, but she could hear me, I couldn't hear her. We had talked about walkie-talkies. So anyway, we were out, and lo and behold, they come back. Lisa says, look, I got this walkie-talkies, 2 walkie-talkies. So they're unpacking the truck. I open them up, I charge them for 12 hours, set up the walkie-talkies, and then I just leave them in their little holsters down there. And then today I called Ricky up, and I said, why don't you come over? And some of you may have even seen, we did a live stream right out on the patio, and we're out there doing a live stream, and maybe you can tell what happened. You were downstairs, and suddenly these walkie-talkies, what happened?
Well, yeah, I was setting up the movie downstairs, and I was trying to be really quiet. Like, I didn't want to turn anything on in case it made a huge noise and doing the live stream. And next thing, the walkie-talkies start like activating themselves. So I'm trying to quieten them down. But actually, it was Ricky singing Into the Kingdom coming through the walkie-talkie, because the walkie-talkies sometimes pick up, like sometimes you'll hear like Spanish people speaking or something, like whatever waves it goes through. Yeah. But for the words Into the Kingdom, it was like it picked it up and started coming through the walkie-talkie.
While we were live streaming up here.
I know, upstairs.
The walkie-talkies pick it up, and
they're
downstairs. And then I picked them up. I'm like, well, you have to look at the channel, and it's like channel 1. So they're on channel 1 broadcasting into the kingdom. So it's just, it's a lot of symbols around us. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
All of Europe sitting here.
If you've got any questions for all of Europe, we're here.
Well, I do have this one question. It came to me even before the interview. Like, Frank, it just keeps coming to me. Like, how are you expanding with this adventure? Because
I can hear the noise of the expansion. But you know, it's very different than, I can see the change. That's the thing. I can really see a change from even our Portugal trip. I think, Lisa, you can see it too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. It's a much more, you know, going with the flow. Before I had a lot of, I just learned that. You know, to not have so many attachments. I'm sure I still have a lot of them, but it's a lot easier for me now. Yeah.
The first trip you were everyone was kind of following with the houses that you were liking and all this kind of stuff, and then now you're kind of...
No, I mean, I liked some houses and they were out right away, and then we had and then there's some houses came up that I would have never picked, and I had a lot of contractions about it. And there was one that was, you know, the last one, and I was always trying to convince David that this is not the house because it was noisy. And I said, "Do you hear that noise?" He said, "No, but that's okay." You know, and then it was cold because it was facing north. But in a way, it was good for me because I did let go. You know, I did let go. I said, "Okay, this is going to be it." And then it didn't come through because they wanted more money. I mean, they completely reneged the whole deal they did with us. And that's when that night we went to the restaurant and we said, okay, now we've been here for weeks and nothing happened. And so Mallorca came up and then everybody whipped out their phones. And they said, okay, oh, there's some properties. That's when that beautiful world came in and, you know, all that. But now, you know, just letting go of the whole thing, I realize now this is exactly what I was talking about. You know, I said, when I had envisioned a place in Europe, this is the kind of place, you know, with the sheep and coming up the driveway and this whole thing. And it's like, I mean, we just watched Mary Magdalene. It could have been shot right here, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that whole vibe, and I knew we would love it. And in Portugal, the places where we had that were way too remote. So now we have it. And for me, it was a big lesson. Just let go and it will come in, you know. And so now it's very different. You know, the expanding. I was expanding also. I see, you know, I remember when we when we did your studio that I see there.
Yeah, there's Jesus back there, both hands up.
And there was one prop that and the rest.
There it is.
There it is. So I said, okay, one prop. But before I would have tried to force it, you know. And now I think that's gone. And so, I mean, not completely, but it's a lot easier. I don't have to carry that much weight on my shoulders anymore.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And, you know, like they're big shops. I mean, we went to IKEA the other day. We had 5 shopping carts.
And a delivery.
And a delivery. And just like us all being together, just, it's all about purpose too. We're in full communication along the way, and we even praying before. It makes me emotional. It's like before we went up the escalator, we did our lesson. And really we stood there and did our lesson, and then it was like inviting the Holy Spirit in, and that day was really miraculous. Immediately we went up there, we met some lady named Lisa. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like one thing after the other. The guys packing the car. And then I ran my cart into a bunch of dishes, and they all crashed. And it was funny. And I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my word, what do I do? All these dishes crashed. And I burst out laughing, and all these European people were like, what's going to happen? I'm like, I have no idea what to do. And all of a sudden this lady comes around and she's like, I got it. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, so what do I need to do? And she said, nothing. And I don't know, it just feels very deep for me too. It feels very mystical at the end of the day. It feels very purposeful and very expansive. And, you know, even just what you were saying, Frank, just seeing the expansion even with all of us together. I mean, it's like it's a new constellation that's together, and us all coming together with this purpose. And, you know, and it just feels really deep. I was talking to you last night about it, Jason. You know, just really, it feels like really some kind of mystical thing. Like it's the happy dream for sure, but it's so like such a linking together and staying so linked together in such a fast pace. It's so fast paced. So like the only thing is just staying in the purpose. It's living in the miracle, in this real beautiful, it feels so deep. Like I feel so present with God, and that the times that are quiet are just so precious too. Like they really are like enough to restore my soul, you know, like, and then the car will be quiet and like restoring, and then into the moment, and such a high energy. And just this place is so beautiful. It feels such an honor.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's the most beautiful place that we've seen.
Yeah. It really
You know, and we got it in the relationship with Kina, and it's like it's cascading.
Yeah. And things are dropping in like there are more right now. It's a smaller configuration, but I think Rudy and Jesse are driving across.
Next week
in the
they'll be here.
motorhome. They're coming, and we were out looking at the shed. Oh yeah, Rudy could do that, and Bert will be here, and Tony, and so it's Tonio. It's actually there's a synergy of people coming, and they're coming all to be used, and all in whatever way that is. It's not a particular thing, but everybody is being used in whether it's construction, whether it's, you know, helping out with cleaning, cooking. Even today, Frank and I had a video chat with my friend Fabienne Lison, who also speaks French. She's laughed. She said, you know, I'm like a professional tourist. I love to go around. I love to see sights and see different places and this and this. And Frank's like, yeah, okay, I can totally relate to that. You know, even
he's looking for a travel buddy.
She even speaks French, and
I I'll take her around and then when David told me yes, I said I love community
because it's when the winds come in, but it's the flexibility. It's not just always being here. It's even enjoying who shows up and going out. And so it's really starting to trust that if I give my life over to guidance, that I'll have a joyful, adventurous, peaceful life. It will be given to me, not because of my past learning or striving for things, but it will just like come raining down on me just because I've given my life over to be happy, to serve God. And I think that's important. There's a lot of people that still have a lot of old sacrificial ideas about serving God, you know, like, oh my God, what's my life going to be? Like Ricky and I, we were down, we did that show right before you went on your tour, and you went to see that you had seen a psychic or had a reading where they said the next, how many years ago?
7.
Next 7 years will be completely different from your past 7 years. And so, and wow, it's like shooting out of a cannon. It's been so different, but it's also been very full.
Yeah, there's just been a lot of deep healing and mind training, and now it's just like David was saying, there is no sacrifice. When I first got here, I just joined with Emily, and I just said, man, I'm just blown away how grateful I am for my life, and it's just I've gotten everything I ever wanted, and I actually didn't even know how to accept that. So it's like Lisa said, when we have this rest time or this downtime, it feels like extra deep and extra quiet and extra intense almost. It's like all this service. We're in the joy all the time. There's so much joy. And yet when there's downtime, where it's so used as well, like all the songs are coming through, and I have a casita that has like a built-in microphone from heaven. You know, and then I can't even go to sleep because, you know, I'm singing and recording, and yet I haven't slept 8 hours, and I don't even know how long until I got here. So there's everything. I'm just so grateful for every little piece. And that idea of sacrifice has has been watched. And that's why that new song came through. It's like, holy.
Yeah, a culmination of all that healing.
Yeah, and even if a thought comes in, it's like, wow, that's not it anymore. And it goes away, and then there's just love that shows up, because that's the end. That's the final outcome. Like, if it's not happy, it ain't over yet. It's not the end, because it ends in joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That reminds me of that, remember that Frank Sinatra song from years ago, Young at Heart? There's a line in there I just like so much, and love is either in your heart or on its way. It's like, how can you not love that? Because it's either in your heart or on its softly or on its way. You know, it's like, it's so embracing, it's so deep, there's so much love, and that's what we're here for. We're here about living this, you know. We know we've gone through periods of reading and exploring and studying. All of us have really searched and searched and searched, and now it's like getting into this rhythm where it's like really embracing the guidance, going for it, and trusting fully in it, and then being convinced how joyful that is to be spirit-led instead of just trying to make decisions based on past learning, past preferences. You know, that's more of like the Groundhog Day. Just you feel like you're looping, and it gets kind of ritualistic. But when you're spirit-led, it's like you wake up, okay, brand new day, and it's been full. We've been going from morning to night. When we have a break, you know, everybody's like, whew, downtime. It's like we really are ready for that break. I saw Frank was out doing a little sunbathing today out there by the pool after a full-on like 4 or 5 straight days of go. It's like rest.
Yeah.
And Sunday they all rested.
That was for me a little bit hard now too, because you know, I had my routine with my lessons and my meditations, and I'm, you know, now we're in the lessons where every hour you give 5 minutes, and I haven't been able at all to do that because it was just too crazy. But but there was one thing I just came to mind. You know, what I still struggle with, and we had a story. Can I tell the truck story? So.
No. Me and him always have these vehicle stories.
So we have this truck, and that's what with the horses. So I'm used to that in the dirt roads, and so the I know mind comes in, and so we had to back into this thing. And I said, but there was already totally locked. Okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I got out because we backed into between these 2 stone walls that they have here everywhere. And then Lisa didn't wait for me, and she hit the wall, and then that that came in really strong, and so what was interesting was that I got out of the truck, and then this happened, and I went, oh my God, why didn't they listen to and then she had to drive on and pick up what she had to pick up. So I was left by myself on this little country road, which was good because I was able to pray. I said, this happened for a reason. You said, no, wow, how did this happen? I was there, I could have avoided it. And then I prayed, I said, this happened for a reason. And so by the time they came back to pick me up on their way down, Emily talked me through it, because I was so convinced that I was right, and you should have listened to me. But I have to say, it wasn't as sticky as it would have been, because I could have, so I was able, if I can throw myself a little compliment here, I was able to let go.
I was grateful Emily was in the car.
We had the whole drive to IKEA to process. So I think by the time we got to IKEA, it was all cleared out.
It was good to be.
Even already at the restaurant, I said, I'm not, it's just, I have the feelings, I need to share them, but I'm not, I'm willing to learn from it. But it was hard. So that was like, there I could hear my mind stretch, because I still, when I think about it, I think, oh, why did this happen? Because I see this scratch in the car and in the truck. But anyway, so that was a big mind stretch. This one was a big one for me.
What did
you
What did you say to him, Emily? What was the
Oh yeah, go.
Oh my
Well,
word.
we had a few hours.
Yeah.
I think it came down to, wanting to be right or wanting to be happy because, it's like the form, you can never use the form to tell you who you are or to, because it's still in the realm of right and wrong and good and bad, and it has to come back. Are you willing to forgive? And that has to be prayer.
Right.
And the thing was, Emily was going to go with Slava and I back to the house. And then she walked in, she said, I think I'm needed on this trip. And then later on, Lisa was like, we would not have made it. We would not have been able to make it through the whole shop at IKEA and all the aspects of it for many hours without that, because the mindset is so important. You have to have that sense of healing and harmony out front. Otherwise, a 5 or 6, 7 hour shopping trip can turn into a trip from hell. It just gets worse and worse, and we know how that can go. So that's again why the guidance is so important. It was a last minute reconfiguration, and then the healing came pouring through that reconfiguration. And then that's when I said, well, we'll go to the car dealership, but we don't have a translator. Keena's like, well, my horse is I'm giving birth in 1 hour, but I'll come. And so even though her horse is getting born, she's been waiting and so excited. She doesn't have children of her own. This is like her new baby coming. She went and patiently did all the translating and then hugs and kisses in the parking lot. And the guy was all lit up. We'd never met the dealer. So, how it blesses everyone. But it's like we're not under control of the form of how it's supposed to go. We just have to remain very open and flexible, for it to work. And we all did.
And like the script is written because it was so perfect. We had such a joyful trip on IKEA. I think it was like midnight when we got back or something. It was like one of our big days, but it was like the three of us were supposed to be there. So whatever way it all was orchestrated, it was like, everybody's part's essential. And it's so precise every day as our day is given to us, who's doing what. And it's just beautiful to see it all unfold. And the miracles, like the support coming in every day. We have so many miracles, whether it's Keena giving us her car or just, people coming up, speaking English just when you need it, or helping us load the car, like whatever it is, it's like, it's God's plan. So the means are given, and you know that you're in the direction when that support comes in and there's just a flow. So it's been really beautiful.
It feels very natural.
Yeah, there's a lot of laughter too. I was thinking, we were just out yesterday, and then the credit card wasn't going through, and then it ended up we all were lined up there, a whole row of us at customer service, and the guy who'd been working with, he was laughing, they were laughing. There's laughter, there's smiles, whether it's at a Home Depot type of store, a car dealership, restaurants. I mean, you can just tell that the spirit is behind it by all the laughter. Even this guy, we went into this other dealership and we're like, there's only 7 minutes until they close at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the siestas. So we roll in there and we just all go streaming in. He's ready to take off for his siesta, and we all stream in there, and he's just looking at us. And we ended up, he just had the biggest smile on his face, and he'd say, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and almost like he could care less about making a sale, but he always had a big grin on his face with whatever he was doing. And that's the thing I notice, when you're in the joy, it's contagious. Everybody's smiling and laughing. Like, is this for real? Are these people for real? Is this really happening kind of feel? It seems very surreal. And then it just goes on and on,
just people showing up with exactly what you need at the moment when you need it. It's really, there's so many little things, but it's beautiful to watch. It's really, it's a demonstration. No obstacles. All the obstacles, like on that trust meditation you did. I'll remove all the obstacles. And
and unpredictable too. You can't base anything on the past. We were all dry. We were in this store. We were so parched. We were all dry. Frank had to go out to his car. We go out. We go in there, and it's this free thing, cool water. Cool water. Let's get one. 5. No, Frank only drinks room temperature water. Put it back. Do not buy it. So we go, we get the 4 bottles out there. Frank comes zooming up, pulls up a chair, sits down, and water. And they say, it's cool. Oh, it doesn't matter. He opens it up and starts going.
Drank my water.
See, the preferences are.
I know. This is, I dry mouth was better. It was like he's drinking the coffee. I'm like, hey, miracle. That's a change. That's a change in perception. He still hasn't walked into McDonald's with us yet.
That would be a huge.
I mean, really.
Yeah, but another thing, we go in, we finally find this Chinese restaurant, so we go in, and we have all this great Chinese food and everything, and at the very end, they're like, they call her over there, and she comes over, she speaks Spanish, and they're like, fortune cookies, and the woman's like, what? Like, and I said, no, it's we get these cute little reminders, like the things you would expect a fortune cookie in a Chinese restaurant. They just get a look like, what is that? And we're like, okay, no fortune.
We're in Jupiter.
We're in good fortune all the time, right? So we didn't need the fortune cookies.
This is great. My miracles are a little more internal right now.
I heard.
Oh, listen to Frank. I heard.
No, it's a joke. Don't worry. I don't know anything.
It's a tiny one, but I was meditating the other day, and Jesus said, now you're going to sink deep into your mind. He literally writes that out in the lesson. And I've been doing this 5-minute thing, and I thought, you know what? Either I'm trying hard to go in, or I can't figure it out. I have no idea how to do this. How to sink in, and then all of a sudden, something like really deep down, it was like this burst of something, and I was like burst into tears, and I'm like, so that's it. I just have to not know.
Amen.
And it's like the truth is always trying to come to us. It's just what are the blocks, and paying attention to that. And you guys are like, you're describing it in a much easier way to describe, with all the things coming at you, so easily. Beautiful.
Yeah, you don't have time to think. It's like we're the rapids, and it's like we're going down the rapids, and nobody has time to think. And and we had a funny episode last night too, where we go to the store. It took us to we went at the wrong entrance, and then back up, and we finally got in. Had to go in. We were solicited for a car wash, and guys like, come here. It's Lisa. Like, look, I can go right up here and park because we're looking for parking.
It's right inside the door.
All these people come up to wash our car, and it's like we're all like, no, stop. We just want to park. They're ready to jump on us. Apparently, the car was really dirty.
We get out of the car, it's filthy. We're like,
and they're all like, you really need it. And so we had to go find a place to park. We go in there, the place is packed. We go in there, we're walking all over to spend time in there. And then finally, we made a decision at some point that we weren't going to
get a stove. David said, what happened to sandwiches?
What happened to sandwiches?
He said,
let's go green.
No more cooking.
Let's go green.
We're going to go green. We're going to eat the oranges.
Yeah.
Forget the stove. I said, okay.
And then the chorus chimed in. Emily said, I rarely use the stove. And then I looked at Frank, and he said, the electricity is very high here for the microwaves and for the stoves. And so at least we come all the way in here to get a stove, and now we're not going to get a stove. And Saba said, that's why we came here, to realize we didn't need a stove. And so that's the kind of way that we get through all this, really intricate, to just realize we finally came here to realize we didn't need a stove.
You just needed a car wash.
And we didn't, right, we didn't need a car wash because Emily's like, if we drive up the road, it's gonna be just as dirty as it was.
But they let us know that we needed one.
We got a dirt track coming up to our gate. So literally one drive up, it's dirty again. So just leaving it.
We didn't need a car wash. We had to convince them of that. Though. They were like, still like.
I said, it's not dirty. It's filthy. But we also realized we have this great grill.
Grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of grilling.
Outside kitchen is awesome. It's like an all-time grill.
It's really obvious because when we went in to get the oven, we had measurements of the oven that could fit. We had this tiny little thing.
I didn't think you could fit an oven in there.
And no ovens existed that size. Like, okay, it's a sign. We're not supposed to get an oven. So it's very obvious.
Yeah. We just are being shown. Everything has to be shown to us. We are like little children. Except you become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
little children.
5 little ones and a whole bunch of lambs and a herd of lambs.
27. 27.
Oh,
12,000.
Okay.
And I'm on orange overload. I eat like 4 a day.
Oh, really?
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in Spain last time when we had the house, we had to eat them or they were going to go bad. So I'm on it.
You're our orange consumer.
The lemon, really nice lemons.
Yeah.
I picked some today.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. So what you guys watched Mary Magdalene? Was there what was it that touched anybody who had the tears, I guess? Or
Well, it was Emily's first time, so there were lots of tears.
Yeah, I think it was just her devotion and just the relationship between her and Jesus. Like you could just feel it was not personal. Like it was just this love that when they would come together, they would, feel it. And I just think it was her devotion. That was really what touched me.
And at the very end, again, her coming to the upper room, but that was such a beautiful contrast of looking for changes in the world and looking for things to get better and all the things about, that scene right there with the other apostles in the upper room. It was really, she was teaching 2,000 years ago to seek not to change the world, seek to change your mind about the world. She kept saying, we have to be the change. And it was an inner change. And all along she would hint at that, like maybe we don't understand after they talk about, the coming kingdom and Jesus is just going to say the word and he'll show everybody and he'll demonstrate his power and he'll sit in the throne and be the king. That was all the thinking, not only of the apostles, but a lot of the Jewish tradition that a Messiah would come and would basically save the day for the Jews and turn the tables on the oppressors, maybe the Romans or whatever. And so that was very much a part of the belief system. And still to this day, 2,000 years later, when people are concerned about the environment, about politics, about all these things that are still very much on the news and very much in the forefront, it's the same lesson that Mary Magdalene was experiencing for herself 2,000 years ago. For now, for all people in spirituality, Course in Miracles students, it's the prominent lesson about change. It's a perceptual problem and you have to simply change your mind. You have to change your purpose from one of hate to one of forgiveness. And it just brings it home. I mean, I love that movie because it really brings it home. The whole movie kind of sets up that final scene in the upper room, which is like really brings it home strong.
Yeah, the expectations of through this.
Yeah,
I could really relate to that. When I got into metaphysics, I thought I was doing it for all these reasons, and then he just looks so disappointed. What? This is not going to happen. That's when I found the Course. So I could really relate to that. He hung himself. So, because he couldn't deal with it. Yeah.
And when Mary went out and found Jesus after he had been crucified, he was just sitting there in a white robe looking out over the fields, and she went and sat right down next to him. And then they they began looking at each other and eye gazing. And then he said, you asked me what the kingdom was like. And then Jesus breaks into this big smile. And then Mary breaks into this big smile as they're just gazing. And it's like this point of recognition, like, yeah, here it is. Because the whole world was interpreting, you know, different things about the kingdom of heaven. He was saying it's at hand, it's very close. But he was talking about a spiritual kingdom, and which is way beyond the idea of an earthly or a linear timeline kingdom. And it still touches me when I was watching that. It just came back to the present moment for me. Like, it's not about anything that we say or do. It's not about our ministry or spreading the word to different countries or preaching the gospel and all those things. It's simply about a recognition that it's a present moment experience and that it's everything. And it's an inner light. She was saying at the end, it's an inner kingdom. That's what the whole point was about. So of all the Jesus movies I've watched, and I've watched a lot of them, this was the movie that really drove it home through that upper room talk that she gave. And they basically said, you know, that they took it as an insult, that Jesus would come to a woman first, and that where is he? He would appear to us. They basically were beside themselves that she was teaching them. And then she just finally said, I love you just like Jesus loved you, and I'll always love you. And I need to say this, but I cannot be silent. And I was telling everybody that after her experience there with Jesus, she did come across the Mediterranean to near Marseille in France, southern France, and she taught in a Greek temple for decades, for 2 or 3 decades. And then she went to live in a grotto, a cave, and commune with Jesus. And I've always felt that the life of Mary Magdalene was like if you had to have in the dictionary, like a picture perfect life of going all the way. First of all, she's there with Jesus. She leaves her family. She leaves all expectations about being a mother, about being a wife. She literally, it takes a lot for her. Basically, her brother and a bunch of men almost drowned her until the father says, stop. And she's literally totally goes through a huge disillusionment. And then it's bring the healer. The father says yes to the healer. The healer happens to be Jesus. And Jesus comes in there so lighthearted, not like he's counseling a desperate woman who's on the verge of deep depression and death, but basically he's still lighthearted as if he's talking to a friend casually, you know. So they say, you have a demon, you know. She's like, yeah, I wish it was a demon. And, you know, and she's got this kind of sarcastic thing, and he's so right away, so loving, so joining with her. And then she goes through this whole experience with Jesus while he's here. When he resurrects, she's there with him again, smiling, and they're smiling at each other, like in recognition. Then she eventually goes to France and then to the cave and to commune, where a friar takes care of her, brings her food every so often. But it just shows that's a life of like many, many decades, a full earth life that's just dedicated to finding the kingdom of heaven within, finding the light, meditating, being still, being perfectly okay after she taught at that Greek temple for all those years. She spoke whatever she needed to speak, and then there came time to just be silent and commune with Jesus. And so I just feel like I was thinking we need a road trip to Toulon, to Marseille, to go up that route again. I did it once, but everyone was like, yeah, that would be a road trip.
Is that in Mallorca or in France?
It's in France, south of France, Marseille.
Well, maybe that's a beautiful place to end it then, with seek not to change Mary Magdalene's life. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're losing our light here. Our natural light through the windows is disappearing.
I'm so grateful you guys came. As soon as we started the show and I saw you all, it was like I could just feel this gratitude and love. So
I love you.
Yeah,
Love you,
we
Jason.
love you,
So
Jason.
sweet.
And all of you tuned in watching this whole day on SpiriTV.
Right, beautiful.
Thank you.
yeah, thanks everybody.
Beautiful.
Okay, bye everybody. Thanks for the turning on from the bottom up.
Oh, what a great way to end the day. It's just beautiful. Thank you all for being here. This doesn't happen without you. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Lots of love. Bye for now.